It's just me today, unfortunately. We'll get Cody in here next week, but today we're going to be talking about what should one D&D monetization actually look like. Everybody's got an opinion on this, and I figured I'd throw mine in the ring. So one of the biggest things in the headlines recently is the CEOs of Wizards of the Coast believe that Dungeons & Dragons is under monetized. And a lot of people are like throwing up their fires and saying this is the end of the world here, but it's true. Dungeons & Dragons is under monetized, and I can think of almost 10 ways off the top of my head that it could monetize fairly, and things that they've kind of been not doing for no reason, I guess. Like, for example, most of the stuff that you could buy for Dungeons & Dragons related accessories or shirts or anything like that, it's on Etsy, and you know for a fact they're not getting their cut of that. So, yeah, it's completely under monetized. And that doesn't even cover other ways that they can monetize, like books, comic books, movies, accessories, other merchandise, video games, card games, board games. Pretty much anything that you can think of is something that they should start moving out and doing on their own. This might just be the one thing that won't suffer from oversaturation. Because of the customization that comes with D&D in general, a lot of people just look at something and is like, yep, not for me, bye. And then they move on. So why wouldn't that apply to everything else that comes out? That's just a couple of ways that they can monetize without having to be greedy about it. One topic that a lot of people don't really like to touch on is monetizing the D&D Beyond platform. And believe it or not, there is already a subscription for that kind of stuff. Here's a couple of ways that I think they should monetize the D&D Beyond platform. But it's really underutilized by both players and Wizards of the Coast. It needs to be so much more for it to actually be worth any amount of money. How you could bring some value to the digital product would be whenever you purchase something, there's a related skin for a dice or character sheet. Dragonlance obviously should have a skin, a dice, and anything else that could go with it. Kind of like maps or even 3D character models that go with the setting that you just purchased. Like if you were going to buy the starter set, you should get a Rick and Morty skin. If you were going to buy one of the newest starter sets, like the Dosi, you should be able to get the blue dragon skin for your dice or your character sheet. Anything like that that might give a little bit of oomph for actually going to D&D Beyond and maybe even spending money if you wanted to. And they shouldn't be exclusive to the specific sets either. So if I didn't buy the Dragons of Stormwreck Isle set, then I should still be able to buy the blue dragon dice thing, and maybe for like $1 because it's a digital asset. And that's just the stuff they should be doing right now. We have a lot of stuff coming up as far as Dungeons & Dragons comes digitally, and I'm not really gonna be nice about this. They need to knock it out of the park. There is so much competition on what they're trying to do, and if they don't even come up to like the bottom middle of what it is for virtual tabletops, then they're not gonna succeed at all. A way that they could succeed with the virtual maps is they need to introduce a 2D option, a 3D option, an interactive option, and an animated option for any of the maps. And all of the 2 or 3D could be applied to the animated or interactive as well. These kinds of options would set yourself apart from most VTTs, virtual tabletop. And this is where it comes in, and it might be a little bit controversial, but here's what it is, everybody. These maps that you should be able to have an engine provided for you to make these maps and sell and monetize them on your own on the D&D Beyond market. And it should work a little bit like they do it with the DM's Guild, except you should, actually keep the products that you make for them. They shouldn't have a monopoly over whatever you make. This would kind of introduce a social media aspect to it all, and you'd be able to rank and rate all of the different maps that maybe are monetized and some of the maps that aren't monetized. You could even rank and rate some of the creators that make maps, and it could honestly be a new source of revenue that Wizards could create for the community to almost promote itself, provided they don't take too large of a cut, of course. Stuff like this should be Hero Forge compatible, or they need to make their own 3D models. And if we're going to be 100% honest going forward, if you make a monster manual, every single monster in the monster manual should have a 3D model that you're able to access on D&D Beyond. And no, that shouldn't be extra. That should be a PDF included in the back of your monster manual. That'll probably cost like $70 now, though. I sure do hope they don't make that happen. I'd like to keep it right back down to where these books are usually purchased at, the $30 to $50 range, but gotta fight inflation where you can find it, right? This could be a bit of a controversial take, but I'm gonna throw it out there anyway. Probably quarterly, maybe even bi-yearly, they should do some sort of interactive thing like they did with the Rick and Morty starter set, the Stranger Things starter set. They should just feature things like that that introduce skins and other kinds of maps and settings for the specific, game, book, comic book, movie series that they happen to feature at the time. We don't need to go crazy with it like Fortnite does, featuring something new every month or two, but there's a lot of acceptable D&D settings that could be thrown in, and a lot of people already play them in general, like Fallout, Naruto, superheroes. Those are just the most popular ones that come off the top of my head, but I guarantee there's like 20 more. And here's another thing that's probably going to be pretty controversial, but I've got to say it. This probably won't work very well unless there's full integration or maybe even a combining of the DM's Guild, the D&D Beyond, the virtual tabletop map and engine, along with something like Hero Forge. If these things aren't all integrated together, one of those things are going to go down. Let's just say Hero Forge is not compatible with the D&D Beyond virtual landscape. They're gonna make their own, where you can just make yours in the virtual engine. But in all reality, it could end up being a great situation where all of these things work well together. Not a lot of them actually work well at all right now. Which brings me to the final point. All of these things that I've said today could be integrated so absolutely poorly that nobody will ever use them. They could take way too large of a cut on making your own personal map. They could never let you have a license to anything that you've made for them. They could never do updates, or just bad updates or very infrequent updates for the virtual tabletop that they've dove into. There's a lot of things that they could do to mess this up, and that's why I say they need to knock it out of the park. You need to do this really, really well, or else it's not going to work at all. And you absolutely need to look at your competitors here, because they're already doing a lot of really great stuff. But that's just my 2 cents, everybody. There's a right way and there's a wrong way to monetize, and this is the right way that they need to do it. There's a lot of parameters that they should not overstep, and they should be very clear with it. If you guys think I overstepped those parameters while going over it in this video, let me know. If you think there's something that I didn't think of yet, let me know. Bring it down in the comments, and just because I think it might be kind of fun if he sees the comment before he sees the video, somebody comment, "Bring Cody back." I'm sure he'll love it. But until next time, everybody, I will see you all later. Don't forget to like, comment, or subscribe.